is Gary Pisaga, Meme and Beep. Meme and Beep, Gary Pisaga.
Have you ever had somebody in your life that you could not imagine in a million years them saying the words, "I love you"? Well, my grandma, Catherine Pisaga, known in the family as Meme, was like that. You know, if she had said, "I love you," I could just as easily imagine her singing the theme from Shaft in German. Now, for you new Toastmasters, that's called giving the audience a picture. I could not imagine that. She was indeed German. You could tell, because her last name, her maiden name, was Beer. That's B-I-E-R. What did you think, Mr. Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, and folks with a meme? My German meme married her Polish sweetheart, Joseph Pisaga, called inside the family Beep. I mean, what else, right? And Meme and Beep, they were in love. At least I assume they were in love. Mostly I heard them yell at each other. But you know, they eloped in 1927. They had 4 great kids together, including my dad. And they lived together for 58 years till death did them part. 58 years of yelling at each other? Yeah, that's love. My Beep was the only one in our family known to be part of organized crime. Well, the only one we know of. During Prohibition, he drove a beer truck, during Prohibition, he was a rum runner. The cops! After Prohibition, Anheuser-Busch, I guess, decided they needed the same skill set, because they hired him on as a beer truck driver. A chorus truck! Meme, needless to say, wasn't exactly, cuddly. She was a stereotypical German. And you know, in German, even nice things sound threatening. Guten Tag! And she was also crafty. She did crafts. You know, mostly crocheted plastic mesh sheets. Does anybody remember those things back from the 70s or so? She could make absolutely anything out of crocheted plastic mesh. She could make toys, and she could make trains and little houses. In fact, making things out of crocheted plastic mesh and giving them as gifts was actually Meme's way of saying, "I love you." Meme and Beep built that little house together there at 202 Bell Street in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. They built it shortly thereafter they were married, and they lived there and yelled at each other there until they died. You know, I never checked, but I'm pretty sure if you look carefully at the walls of that house, you'd find they were made of crocheted plastic mesh. The best thing, though, about the house was the food. I tell you, especially the meatball sandwiches. Every time we went up to Mount Ephraim, we would always stop at Del Bono's Bakery, which was in Haddon Heights, New Jersey. Motto, friend of the common man. And we would stop and we would get the rolls from Del Bono's, and they were just so good, so fresh out of the oven. I could just smell those things even now. Oh man, those dusty dollops of dough, that plethora of puffy provisions, that crunchy chorus of carbohydratic comestibles. Where's a grammarian when you need them, huh? But the rolls were even better when you know what came next, the meatballs. Every time we would go into that house, there would be Meme in the kitchen stirring the big pot of meatballs. One time we were coming back from Vermont to Virginia, and we hit a horrendous snowstorm. I remember sitting way in the back of the car, looking out the windshield, and I could see the snow out the front window. I was way in the back. This was in my parents' huge, classic 1969 Ford Country Squire station wagon. Oh yeah. Powder blue paint job with the fake wood panels on the sides. We were happening. But I remember sitting in the back there, and somehow some miracle, we made it home. At least we made it as far as New Jersey. It was 3 o'clock in the morning when we pulled into Meme and Beep's driveway. And I remember trudging through the snow, wearily opening the door of the house and smelling meatballs. You guessed it. You know, I said that my grandma never said, I love you. But if meatballs at 3 a.m. ain't love, I don't know what is. Not only did we get food, though, we also learned wisdom from them. One of my grandmom's favorite sayings was, the older they get, the dumber they get. She said that a lot. Looking at myself now, I kind of understand why. I think if she was here right now, she'd look at me and say, when they get really old, they join Toastmasters speech contests. And I also learned wisdom from them. I tell you, we learned wisdom, we learned sayings, we learned German even. My grandparents had this Volkswagen camper van that was made in Germany for the German market and imported into the United States. And for some reason, I guess it was a manufacturing defect, all the writing was in German. My brother and I, we would ride in the back of this van, and our absolute favorite thing in there was this little placard that said, and I quote, Gut Fahrt. Really? Now, if you know any German, you know that the words Gut Fahrt mean good trip, as in have a good trip. But to two teenage boys, this was absolutely the funniest thing we had ever read. I tell you, yeah, my brother and I, we enjoyed many occasions savoring our Gut Farts. You know, I want to look back. That was many years ago, but I want to look back and just remember the Christmases that we spent at their house. The smell of meatballs in the air. My aunts and uncles playing pinochle in the parlor. Whatever part of the house the parlor is, I'm not sure. And on TV, my grandparents, they always believed in the classics. So the classics would be on TV. Things like roller derby, professional wrestling. My kids know them mostly through our Christmas ornaments. My grandma made half the ornaments on our tree. She lives on through crocheted plastic mesh. What about your memes and beeps? If you don't know their story, go ask them. You won't always have time. And if you remember, why don't you give me a meatball sub? Thanks.
Timer, I'd like 1 minute. Mr. Timer.